Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon, and we're going to talk about the continued digital media apocalypse that has been hastened by the coronavirus shutdown this year. That the ad revenue is drying up, and many of these media outlets, these friendly media outlets that have been attacking fans, attacking people for the last 5 or 6 years, the money is running out. And I wish I could shed a tear. I'm not terribly upset about some of these websites being shut down, sold off, or whatever, because, we've seen that many of them use their platform, many of these journalists use their platform specifically to attack people they perceive as political opponents, that the journalism is sketchy at best. Not everybody. I mean, there are some pretty decent journalists out there, but, as a former journalist myself, as someone who started working at newspapers as a journalist in my early 20s, the shift in digital media of the last couple of years has been absolutely appalling. Seeing that basically a lot of these websites will hire anybody who can string together a couple of sentences, and oftentimes what happens is they start using the platform to espouse their personal opinions under the guise of it being news. We see this particularly in pop culture news, which we talk about here all the time, that at some point, I don't know exactly when the switch was flipped, but at some point it became very fashionable to bash old school fans of franchises, comic book fans, everybody that kept a lot of these companies, these franchises afloat for years. They became targets for basically journalistic harassment. I don't even know if that's a term or not, but we've seen it time and time and time again. Whatever brings the clicks to some of these websites, that's what they would do. If it meant writing umpteen articles about how awful Star Wars fans were, we would do that. If it meant complaining about too many men working in comics, we would do that. Whatever the soup du jour was that day, or the stupid du jour was, that's what they would write about, because they need the ad revenue, they need the clicks. And I often wondered if a lot of these sites even believed half of what they publish, because some of it, including some of the stuff from the Mary Sue, is so ridiculous and unbelievable that I can't imagine any normal thinking person would even jump to these conclusions. But here we go, another potential casualty of the decline in ad revenue due to the coronavirus shutdown. The Huffington Post, which is sort of, I would put the Huffington Post up there with Vox and Buzzfeed. It's sort of the, I don't know, the holy trinity or unholy trinity of digital journalism, that these are the cornerstone websites that have sort of instigated the instigation toward people. And a lot of these sites have been propped up by venture capital for years. And this is what we're seeing. Like, people aren't actually spending hard-earned money to bankroll these sites. A lot of them overrun with people with a socialist bent. They're not really motivated to go out and sell ad packages, are they? Because they think they should get paid tons of money to just spout off their opinions on outlets like the Huffington Post. And this is coming to an end because Verizon is looking to unload the Huffington Post as losses mount. Now, Verizon also unloaded Tumblr. Now, remember, Verizon paid over $1 billion for Tumblr, and Tumblr had been degraded to such a point that they sold it to WordPress for $3 million. Like a quasi-successful YouTuber, PewDiePie or somebody could have gone out and just cut a check for $3 million and bought all of Tumblr. I'm actually surprised the founder didn't go out and buy Tumblr for himself, because he's certainly got the money. But Tumblr had been devalued because it had been overrun with some very interesting people, and many of those people have now migrated over to Twitter, and Twitter will also be very devalued here pretty soon. It already is. This article coming from the New York Post, I got to give a hat tip to Black Sage D, who seems to find all the good stuff. Follow him on Twitter. He's a very, very smart guy, and he'll shoot me some DMs every once in a while with some links, and this one was interesting. I totally missed this yesterday or the day before. Coming from the New York Post, Verizon scrambling to unload Huffington Post as losses mount. Verizon has been quietly scrambling to unload the Huffington Post as it grapples with continued losses at the left-leaning news and culture website, the Post has learned. So this is the New York Post has learned about the Huffington Post. The telecom giant, which acquired the site formerly known as the Huffington Post, oh, that's right, it's called HuffPo now. HuffPo, because that's so much better. HuffPo, as part of its $4.4 billion purchase of AOL in 2015, has approached multiple digital media companies during the past few months in a bid to get the property off its books as losses accelerate due to the coronavirus, according to sources close to the situation. Nobody's buying websites right now. Nobody's buying websites, especially news sites, especially far left-leaning news sites, because they don't make money. We saw what happened with Geo Media. Geo Media bought what was left of Gawker, and it took Univision, I think, a couple of years to find somebody that was willing to take these sites like Kotaku and Jezebel and Deadspin and all of that. That nobody wanted it. They didn't want it. Verizon has pitched the property to prospective buyers, including Thrillist owner Group 9 Media, Rolling Stone publisher, Penske Media Corp, Bustle Media, which laid a bunch of people off, and J2 Global. Insider said those media outlets declined to comment. Vox Media, which owns New York Magazine and operates news and political site Vox, as well as tech news sites Recode and The Verge, is among the media outlets to have held talks to acquire the Huffington Post. Some sources have described those talks as serious, but sources close to Vox, while acknowledging they have taken looks, say they're not interested in buying the property. They don't have the money. Vox isn't doing well. Vox is laying people off. Vox doesn't have the money to take on another website that's failing. These websites, these news media outlets are all failing. Group 9, whose CEO is Ben Lehrer, the son of Huffington Post co-founder Ken Lehrer, took a pass. So even the founder's son, won't touch this damn thing. This thing loses so much money, a digital media executive with knowledge of the financials said. It's such a mess. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I don't think there's any way you can make money. People briefed on the talk said Verizon, headed by CEO Hans Vestberg, appears to be seeking to offload the Huffington Post, HuffPost, to a buyer willing to take a knife to the site's high operating expenses. So even if it gets sold, they're basically just going to keep the domain name and gut the rest, right? A potentially daunting process that will require going head-to-head with the site's union and enacting massive layoffs. That's probably part of the reason why it's losing a lot of money, because these journalist unions ask for the moon. And we saw what happened to Kickstarter. Kickstarter basically used the coronavirus to push out union members. You know, I mean, if you want to get down to it, that's what's going on. A lot of the people being laid off during the pandemic are union. And they're too expensive. We're not making the money. Let's push these people out the door. Now, I'm not saying for or against unions. I think unions in some cases are good. You know, if you're working for like a sweatshop or something. But if you're working as a digital journalist, I don't think you need a freaking union. And it's just, you're I don't know. It's a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. And again, you know, I don't like people being unemployed, but when there are people who spend their entire lives, you know, writing hit pieces on people and pushing for quote unquote problematic people to lose their livelihoods, it makes it really hard to shed a tear when these people are on the receiving end of that. While HuffPost brings in between $45 million to $50 million a year in ad revenue, its annual expenses are between $60 and $70 million. Two sources said, and with advertising slammed by the pandemic, it will likely only bring in $40 million this year. So yeah, this is bad. Verizon is looking to maintain a minority stake while the buyer does the dirty work of cutting costs and dealing with severance packages. So they want somebody to come in and basically, so Verizon wants to still be involved somewhat because they want that news outlet to promote their stuff probably. And they want somebody to come in and just fire everybody. The Bobs, they're going to bring the Bobs in. He estimated that roughly 1/3 to a half of HuffPost staff would need to be cut to enable any buyer to even break even on a deal. According to the company's masthead, HuffPost has roughly 200 employees. HuffPost editorial staff is unionized with the Writers Guild of America East. They won't be after this. I would be very surprised. I could totally see them coming in and just like gutting all the union employees and being like, yep, we're buying you all out. We're going to start over with cheap labor. Other challenges include a toxic culture among staffers that's plagued by distrust in the organization and infighting over how left the publication should be. Who wants to buy ads on this thing? Nobody. If Verizon can't make money on it, who can? The source said. If you have to fire half the people, there goes the traffic. The brand means nothing anymore, and it's ultra partisan. Founded by Ariana Huffington in 2005, HuffPo began as a counterpart to conservative sites like The Drudge Report. In 2016, Lydia Polgreen took the reins as top editor from Huffington, who left to build a wellness and lifestyle company, Thrive Global. In March, Polgreen left to head up content for Spotify's podcasting company, Gimlet Media. The company has yet to name Polgreen's replacement. Verizon didn't respond for comment. Of course they didn't. It's gonna get Tumblr. They're gonna sell it for a couple $1,000,000, guarantee it, because it's freaking worthless. They're gonna let everybody go. They're gonna sell the domain and the content, and that's it. I mean, this just shows how worthless these websites have become. You know, it started in 2017. You know what happened in 2017? A lot of the venture capital that these sites got in like 2011, 2012 started to run out, and they had to start paying their own way. You know, it's kind of like your kids who graduated from college and they're still living at home when they're 30. That's what these websites are. They never left the nest. They can't. They don't have the skills. They're not employable. They're not attractive to advertisers. They write hit pieces day in, day out. Biased hit pieces, and they destroy lives. They do. And it's not just the Huffington Post. You know, we look at Geo Media, again, bought what was left of Gawker. Gawker got sued into oblivion because they crossed the line because they thought they were above it all. You know, and it's, you know, it's not just the far left websites that are getting gone. It's everybody. Digital media is collapsing because there's too much of it. And it's, you know, most of it's polarized. And I'm going to say even some of it's polarized toward the right. Now, the difference between the right and the left, though, is the right tends to have a lot of capitalists, and capitalists have money. The left, you know, when you're dealing with socialists don't have a lot of money. So they're probably not spending money on these websites, you know. And it's just a lot of the websites are run kind of like charity. And look, I know firsthand how this works. I was a newspaper editor for years. I worked in newspapers, I worked in radio, I've worked in digital media. You know, when I was younger, I was pretty aggressive when it came to, well, I mean, I worked ridiculous hours. It's amazing. We're still married, to be honest. But, you know, I know firsthand, like, how much money you have to bring in. And it's nice to put the news out there and all of that. But if you don't have the advertisers coming in, you know, your paper's going to get shut down. Your website's going to get shut down. That's just how it works. And these sites weren't concerned about money because they didn't have to worry about it for years. They were bankrolled by venture capitalists, and now the money's running out. The advertising revenue is running out. You know, so many businesses aren't spending now because they're losing money, because a lot of people that would be advertising on a site like the Huffington Post are probably located in states like California, which is basically at a standstill right now. So they're running out of money. Hollywood can't bankroll these publications anymore. You know, and look at all these newspapers that are collapsing. Everybody. I mean, you go down to digital media, Buzzfeed laying off people, Vice laying off people, Bustle's laying off people, Geo Media, Group 9, 7% of staffers, Vox furloughed a ton of people. You know, it's all collapsing. You know, and it's the same place. So these are the places that they're looking to unload. They're looking to unload the Huffington Post, and they're laying people off. They're not going to buy the Huffington Post. They've got their own problems to deal with. You know, and it's going to hit pop culture websites very, very hard. I think some of the sites that are smaller, that have very small staffs that are sort of independently owned, can survive because people follow personalities. But these bigger sites like Nerdist, you know, Nerdist and Geek and Sundry, you know, these were owned by Legendary. Legendary bought them. They were mouthpieces for Hollywood, and the Hollywood money's run out, and they're laying people off. Yeah, this is a very, very bad time to be a digital journalist. I'm just going to tell you the truth. It is a very bad time to be a digital journalist. And, you know, I hate to use a cliche, but you probably might want to look into learning how to code, finding another job skill, something, because it's ending. This is ending. You're not going to be able to make $100,000 a year attacking fans on websites for much longer. It's definitely ending, and it just comes down to economics, right? It's all business. Nothing personal. It's just business. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.